No, I think. Alright, I can do this.
Well, you can say simply, he's well known, so he doesn't need any introduction.
Assalamu alaikum everybody. We are going to inshallah start the program. Our brother Abdul Quayyum Khan Kundi, he's going to talk about rizq halal. So, we're going to with that?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I want to thank Imtiaz, Sadia and my team board and volunteers that have made this program possible. And I want to thank you all that you decided to come for this program despite this new scare of COVID re-emerging. I hope inshallah we'll get through this difficult time. But we have to continue with life, right? COVID can't stop us. So we have to continue with our normal life as much as we can. So today's topic is rizq halal. But before I get to that topic, I wanted to share this video with you and then we will talk about it. Okay, so it's like I have chosen short video, so this is a 5-minute video. Let's watch this video and then we will talk about it.
Or a team of biomedical engineers from University are released closer to reality. Say hello to the first flexible, full-size 3D print of a human heart. This heart mimics the structure and elasticity of the real thing. The invention promises advances for the medical field, and future iterations could one day save someone's life. You've definitely seen this kind of printer before. This is a kind of additive manufacturing printer where each layer is supported by a sturdy layer below. Additive manufacturing printers are popular but are typically known to build hard objects using materials like plastic or metal. But rigid plastic organs aren't very practical. These printers could produce softer materials like biological hydrogels, to make a heart, but these can collapse mid-print. This new method can change the game. The 3D printing technique is called free-form reversible embedding of suspended hydrogels, or FRESH. It can print biological structures with soft, squishy materials like alginate, a biomaterial made from seaweed, which feels like human tissue. And it cleverly solves that collapsing problem during print by suspending flexible materials inside a container of gelatin. It's like hair gel with body parts in it. So how does it all work? Well, for this team of researchers, it all starts with an MRI scan from the real heart. The scan gets digitally chopped up into horizontal slices by a program which then translates them into code that a printer will understand. A needle-like nozzle moves through the gelatin support bath, extruding thin layers of alginate. The layers stack on top of each other to build the shape. When the print is complete, it's put in an incubator overnight where the temperature is raised to 37 degrees Celsius to gently melt away the gelatin support structure, leaving only the 3D printed heart. In this full-size test, they were able to reproduce features as thin as 2 sheets of paper, and in smaller scale tests, they managed to get them as fine as a human hair. 3D hearts have been printed before, but they've all been too small, more fit for a rabbit or a mouse than a human. Full-size 3D printed hearts can also be used as educational tools to help surgeons prepare for surgery. Older surgical models are made of rigid plastic or rubber, so they're helpful for planning, but limited because surgeons can't interact with them like real tissue. Fresh hearts can be cut and sewn up just like a real heart. Now surgeons can use these more realistic models to refine surgical techniques and test their tools in advance of the actual surgery. So their practice test isn't, well, you. And one of the coolest parts is that it could be a print of your specific heart. This will allow hospitals to personalize replacement tissues. For example, if you have a blocked artery and need a stent put in your real heart, the surgeon can test the stent with the 3D printed heart to make sure that it's a good fit. They're beginning to use this technology to help design functional parts that in the past have been hard to get right. Collagen-printed tri-leaflet heart valves are able to open and close, and printed coronary arteries help move blood around the body. Even ventricles made with cardiac muscle cells can visibly contract and start to synchronize. All of this is great, but it's not yet a functional beating heart. Scaling up from an artery to the real deal is no small matter. Using actual human tissues as bio-ink for an organ printer can be prohibitively expensive at the volumes needed. According to one source, a heart made out of alginate is around $10. The same heart made out of collagen, $2,000. But if you're on the waiting list for this essential organ, you might be willing to pay any price. Time is also a factor. Currently, a full-scale fresh model takes 4 days to complete. If we printed with living cells at that rate, many would die during the process. To make a full-size heart, you need billions of cells. Current technology can only produce a fraction of that, so there's still a long way to go. Even if a fully functional heart can't be created right now, the team at Carnegie Mellon is already hard at work refining the fresh technology so it can build more complex models. One day, these printed tissues could be used to test drugs more safely, decrease animal testing, and even replace or...
Okay, so you get the idea. The idea is that we are now printing human organs, right? Do you guys doubt it? I just showed you a video. It's still work in progress, but they have already produced organs and they have transplanted them, right? So human beings are producing a 3D printed heart, and do you think that God, the creator, cannot do 3D printing? If we can do it, is the God not capable of doing a 3D printing? The point I want to make here is that for me personally, the most important story of Quran is Adam, creation of Adam. And people try to give it allegorical meaning, that this is an allegorical story. It didn't happen the way it is presented. I disagree with it. I think it happened the way it is presented. God said that He created Adam in 3 stages. First, He created a form. And we see here in this 3D printing art, they created a form. Then God said, I gave it a soul. Right? They're going to give this heart a soul, give it a living being's characteristics. And then in the 3rd stage, God said, I gave Adam intellect and knowledge and wisdom. So that was an evolution from form to spirit and then intellect and knowledge. So one message that I want to convey to you today is that the story of Adam is very important. You have to reflect on it. You have to think about it. Read it many times and reflect, and you will understand yourself, because you're son of Adam or daughter of Adam. You will understand Adam's relationship with God and our reason for being here. So when Adam is created, he's put on in heaven. He has no job. The only restriction on him is not to eat from a forbidden tree. He didn't comply. He got punished, and one of the punishment is that now he has to earn a living on this earth. You know, God has promised risk, but He didn't say you don't have to make an effort for it. So you have to earn a living here. And that brings us to the subject of rizq-e-halal. What is rizq-e-halal? What is the kosher income? And how we can achieve it? What are its characteristics? Why is it is important as a social force? Why is it important as an ethical force? So we will talk about rizq-e-halal. It's a very wide subject. People have written books about it. So we will pick up one aspect of rizq-e-halal and then try to expound on it. All of you have heard that famous hadith which says that rizq-e-halal is like praying. Like rizq-e-halal and ibadat. Rizq-e-halal, seeking rizq-e-halal is a prayer. What does that mean? What does that mean? Can anybody expound on this? What does it mean? How can working in a job be a prayer? Ibadah. How can working for a job, you work for a gas station, you work for an IT company, you work for a research lab, you work for a medical facility, how can working be ibadah? Yeah.
Every act in life that you perform with the intention, with the pure intention to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a form of ibadah.
Okay.
So it's earning and also your sustenance that you earn is the core of who you are as a person. and it has to be done in the right way. And when we do it in the right way, it is a form of worship.
Okay, so basically he's saying that breathing every breath is kind of a prayer because you are subservient to God. But why do we do prayer? What do we achieve in a prayer? What do we try to achieve in a prayer? Huh? Okay, so we try to connect with God. There's one aspect of prayer. Okay, what is the other aspect? Okay, so it stops you from doing bad deeds. Okay, the prayer does it. So that means it gives you contentment. It helps your conscience. Your conscience is clear, right? I don't know anybody who came for a prayer and felt bad about it, right? Prayer makes you feel good. You feel contented. You feel satisfied. You feel that you have uplifted your soul. So there are two important aspects of prayer. One is creating relationship with God. The second is to have contentment. Any form of prayer, they have done research on Buddhist chant. When Buddhists chant, they have experienced that the gamma rays in the brain increase in its intensity when they are chanting. So prayer has an effect of giving you contentment. It helps your conscience. It helps you, it has a soothing effect. So now let's come to Rizq-e Halal. If Rizq-e Halal is an ibadah, is a prayer, how do we relate? If somebody is working in a gas station, how can it be an ibadah? Or if somebody is working in an IT company, making games for kids, how can that be an ibadah? Okay, so basically, let me share my thoughts with you, and then we will go from there. All business entities serve some purpose for a community, right? ICC, like my thing, for instance, that they serve. And they charge a fees for it sometime, right? And that fees, they pay salaries. So when you work for any entity, okay, you are helping your fellow community members. Okay, that gives you contentment. Okay, if you work for a doctor and you save a life, you bring happiness to a family. That brings you closer to God. So when you do work, if you do it diligently, if you do it honestly, if you don't cut corners, if you don't do any ethical practices in it, it is a form of ibadah. Because every business serves some purpose for a community. Okay, we have heard about prophets, right? Isa, Musa, Ibrahim. So what is, each prophet has one basic message that they focus on.
La ilaha illallah.
Huh?
La ilaha illallah.
Yeah, that's the relation with God. But as a social force, as a community force, they also have a message, a dominant message for community. For instance, the easier one is the message of Isa was peace. You slap me on one cheek, I'll give you the other one. Right? Isa said, right, if you slap me on one cheek, I'll give you the other one. Right? Peace. He is not want to fight back. Musa was salvation of his community. He told Pharaoh, release these people. You have enslaved them. Unjustly, I wanted to release them. So he wanted to have salvation for his people, give them liberty. Ibrahim was dedication. He was willing to sacrifice his son for God. He stepped into fire, the story that we have heard, for God, right? So dedication to God, taqwa. Prophet Muhammad, similarly, Yusuf, public administration. He was a prime minister for the ruler of Egypt. So public administration, how do you serve your community? Through a good administration. Similarly, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his message was justice. Justice. How do you create a just society? How do you ensure justice? So, one aspect of Rizq-e Halal is to ensure justice in your community. For instance, if you are an airplane designer and you don't do your work well, you cut corners like we have seen that MX300 plane. we found out there were design flaws, they overlooked it, and because of that, lives were lost, businesses lost money, people lost lives, families lost loved ones. So that means they did injustice. That means they did not do risky halal. They cut corners in their work. So justice, one aspect of risky halal is that when you engage in risky halal, you ensure justice. Here I want to show you another video. Animals teach us a lot of things, and even Quran validates that. When Habil-Qabil story, we remember, right? When the brother killed his brother, it was an animal, a bird, that showed the person how to bury his brother, the murdered brother, right? So animals teach us a lot of things, and we should not take them lightly. So let me show you another video.
Separate the microphone
Yeah.
and the box.
Okay, I'm going to show you a video. My internet got disconnected here. It was connected a while ago.
Are you connected?
Wait, I have internet on my phone. I have phone and the computer went to sleep. He's like me, he likes to sleep. Okay, so yeah, then I got new connection. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to play this short video. Again, no video is larger than 5 minutes.
We can see it.
No, wait. It's only a minute. Short video. Short.
It's not displaying on the
We
screen.
cannot see it.
Just unplug and unplug it.
Oh.
The honeybee is one of the most collaborative insects in the world. Each hive is comprised of thousands of bees working together in order to build and sustain a colony. Within the colony, each bee has a specific role, a job.
Okay.
The most collaborative insects in the world. Each hive is comprised of thousands of bees working together in order to build and sustain a colony. Within the colony, each bee has a specific role to play. A job, if you will. These are jobs like foraging for food, tending to young larvae, and building a honeycomb. But with a brain about the size of a sesame seed, it begs the question, how do bees know what specific job they need to do in order to keep balance in the hive? The answer is written into the genetic makeup of each bee. And it starts with the queen bee, who has the unique ability to designate the sex of her children, which plays a pivotal role in their future. If the queen wants to lay a female egg, she will fertilize the egg by releasing spermatozoa that is stored in the spermatheca, which sits behind her ovaries. The spermatheca is filled during her first week of life, when she mates with up to 20 drones, or male bees. If the queen wants to lay a male egg, she will not release any spermatozoa as the egg leaves the ovaries. And drones have a singular job. That job is to mate with queens from other colonies to propagate the species. When they're not trying to mate, they eat leisurely from the honey reserves and wait for a queen to go on her nuptial flight. Female bees, or worker bees, do literally everything else. They keep the cells clean, care for the larvae, build cells, tend to the queen, store honey, forage, pollinate, guard the nest, and even feed male bees honey if they're begging for it. Each bee knows what to do because their hormones activate the part of their genetic makeup that tells them what jobs they have to tackle and when they have to tackle them. They go through 4 phases of jobs before dying. In phase 1, bees go to work immediately after they emerge from metamorphosis, about 3 weeks after they're born. They begin cleaning the cells from which they emerge. After about 3 days, their hormones shift them into nurse bee mode. In this job, they feed the young brood that succeeds them. This lasts for about a week. Then phase 3 kicks in, and the workers become general handymen, moving farther away from the center of the hive and doing things like building honeycomb, storing food, and guarding the nest entrances. This lasts about a week. The final phase is the most dangerous. It's the foraging phase, where workers leave the nest to find pollen to bring home and feed the colony. This phase starts around day 41 and lasts until about day 50. After a short life of constant work, most workers will leave the nest as death approaches. The corpses of those that die inside the hive are carried out by undertaker bees. It's a thankless life for the worker bee, but this collaboration and process has made them one of the most successful superorganisms in nature.
Okay. So, bees. As you can see, bees have community. They have defined roles for different bees. But the key point I want to convey to you is that when the bee build their hives, they don't do injustice, they don't do any corruption in it. Their structures are perfect. Okay, they never contaminate that process. Have you ever heard that the honey produced by a bee was not a good honey? It may have a different texture and composition depending on what kind of flowers were in the area, but you will never hear that honey was poisonous, because they do their work honestly. There is no question when you get honey, there is no question, doubt that comes to your mind that they haven't done their job right. God said, I promise this to all living beings, right? But all living beings have a responsibility. So the bees have to earn their rizq-e-halal by producing honey. They don't produce honey just for themselves, it's for other creations like us, and the bears like the honey too, as we all know. So when you are pursuing rizq-e-halal and you do any job, there should be no question that you won't do it right. You should not have a supervisor. As a good Muslim, pursuing rizq-e-halal, you should not have a supervisor, because you are a self-supervisor. The religion has told you, the Prophet has told you that rizq-e-halal is ibadat, it's a prayer. Do you need a guardian to do prayer? Do you need a supervisor to tell you when to pray and not to pray? So anybody who is pursuing rizq-e-halal, they will be self-controlled. They don't need a time card. They don't need anybody to tell them what to do. Once they are told what their job is, they should have a self-controlled dignity to do it without any question being asked. So rizq-e-halal gives you dignity. Then the other question is, what kind of professions you can use to society? Okay, stealing or conspiring to steal money from people, right? Some people do that, right? Giving bad advice for an investment and you know it. That's a bad profession. Interest is bad. It was told to us by Socrates, who came 700 years before Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said interest is bad for society. So I wouldn't say, in my definition, commercial bank that runs interest instruments is not good, but investment bank will be okay because they do equities, which is kind of investing in companies that grow and produce goods. So for me, the benchmark is, how does a profession help a community, and whether it's contributing towards progress of the community. If it meets that benchmark, I say it's a good profession and good for risk halal. I ran a small business for 14, 15 years. So one question that I had to deal with is, what is a fair profit? How much should we charge for a product? Let's say a product costs $1. How much should we charge from a customer for that dollar product? So what is a fair profit? Anybody? Yeah?
To charge them $1, cents $1.
So if cost is $1, you can charge $2?
I think I heard 30%. When I was young, I heard 30% is normal Muslim.
Okay. Anybody else? Take a guess?
Market will determine the profit.
That's what capitalists say.
That's what we
That the market should decide.
Yes.
The market is greedy. Right? We know that. We have seen capitalism causing some issues. Right?
Example is Umar Razillah Ta'ala time,
Okay?
when the cheese prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
He made an oath to himself that he's not going to eat the cheese till the price come down.
Come down,
He
okay.
did not enforce the
Yeah.
price to be go down.
That's regulation, okay?
Yeah.
That government taking some action. I'm talking about individual. You run a business. Government is not deciding the price for you. You have to decide your price. How much is a fair profit? So I did a little research. Actually, there is no set formula for it. Yeah.
You have to see how much is your investment, how much is your overhead.
Okay. Yeah. All these
expenses, you
yeah.
pay all those
Yes. They're all part of your cost, variable and fixed cost. So I did a little research because I was really concerned about that question. How much should I charge? You know. So what I learned by reading and researching and talking to some religious, knowledgeable people, anything more than double is considered unethical. That's what I learned. If something costs $1, you should not go over $2. That's what I learned. But it's not set in stone. You can do your research and find out. But you have to address this question if you're running a business. What is a fair profit? Because Islam, the Islamic capitalist system, and Islam projects capitalism because there are many verses where God says in a society there will be rich and poor. You can't do anything about it. Some people will be richer, some will be poor. So Islam kind of validates differences in income levels, differences in economic classes. It validates that there will be. Some people will make more money, some will make less money. So Islam validates it. But there is a social responsibility for people who have more money. They are encouraged to contribute toward the society. They are encouraged to give charity. They are encouraged to, and not just write checks, by the way. One thing I want to say, Islam promotes, you should not just write a check to a charity and be comfortable. You have to engage where that money is going. You have to make sure it reaches the destination intended. So Islam promotes more active involvement in charity, not just writing checks. Of course, if you are busy, you can write a check, no problem, but it encourages that you give time as well as money so that you make sure that the money reaches the intended people, the money it is intended for. Okay. There are some students here that I see, and you will be thinking, I'm not working right now. Why am I listening to this Kerala? Right? Why are you listening? You're not working, right? You're going to school. So why does it concern you? Am I wasting your time? Well, when you're in school, you're learning some skills, right? You're developing capabilities. You're developing your character. You're developing your discipline, right? So you develop yourself for that eventual period when you will be earning risk Allah. So you do your homework on time. You don't cut corners in your assignment. You do ethical work. You don't plagiarize your content. You do honest contribution to your studies. That is your job. That's how you build these qualities so that when you go to work, you already have those habits inculcated in you. And the most important, there are some verses that I wanted to share with you. Yeah, we are going to pray Maghrib, so we'll finish in 5 minutes, inshallah. Okay, in there is verse, Surah 34, verse 36. And it states, "Say indeed, my Lord extends provision for whom He wills and restricts it, but most of the people do not know." What it means that I don't think I know any doctor that goes to work thinking how much money he's going to make today. I don't believe. I think when they go, they believe they are going to help some people. In the process, they will make some money. But I don't think they go to their clinic, like Sadia goes to her clinic or Dr. Bajwa goes to his hospital and thinking that today I'm going to make $5,000. Yeah?
Why not? Right?
Yeah, but that's not the objective. That's the byproduct. You go there to help other fellow community members, and in the process you charge a fee and you make some money. But money is the byproduct. This verse is telling you money is a byproduct. You don't work for money. You get money, sure. And it says that, and Quran stipulates that God decides how much money you will get in your life. You have to work for it, sure. It's not going to be mano salva that you're sitting in your bed and money will come to you. You have to work for it. But God ultimately decides how much money you will make. I know some people who work less make more. There are people who work all the time and they don't make as much money. So the Islamic capitalist system or Islamic motivation to people is that you should work, pursue rizq halal, help the community, do your best. You will get money, you should get money, you should enjoy that money, but money is not your motivating force. That's the difference between capitalists. Capitalists say make as much money as you can. Right? Bill Gates has 130 billion, is still not satisfied. It's good though that he's spending a lot of this money for good causes, but money, the difference between what a person makes and the lowest person in the field is very wide, and that creates social issues. So Islamic message is that money should not be your driving force. Your driving force should be innovation. How to solve a complex problem, how to help the community, how to distinguish myself from other engineers or doctors or scientists. That should be your motivation. Money will come to you, you should enjoy it. But money is not your driving force. That's the message of Islam. And with this, I end. If you have questions, we can address or we all pray moment. Sounds good? Thank you.